Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner Davis.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the program, WCM Live. Right back at you. We're coming to tonight's show. It's going to be Black History Making the News, and we'll make up for some of this a little time, but you know how these things go sometime. I'm your host, Ed McQueen, of course, and my co-host, Miss April Garner. And she's working behind the scenes tonight to make sure that we have a very smooth operation. And I hate to use the word transition because that kind of reflects on the politics. Smooth transition. Anyway, so again, I'm your host, Ed McQueen, and we've got I think a magnificent show for you tonight, and it's all about Black history making the news. And we're going to start with, we have a couple of guests that we have. One is Mr. Marvin Latimer of Latimer Funeral Home, and the other one is Mr. Joshua Mishoe of Bucksport, and he is the creator of an animation with a lot of Black history relative to it. So let's get started, and I want to have you, most of you may know our guest, who's a local funeral director, along with the rest of his family, of course his brother George, and he's Mr. Marvin Latimer of Latimer Funeral Home, right here in Conway, South Carolina. So without further ado, let me just bring him on.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Walaikum salam. Marvin.
Mr. McQueen, always good to see you. Always good to see you.
It's a pleasure seeing you.
By the way, please let the community know that pork chops are on sale at the locker plant.
I'm glad you're starting off on a good note.
I figured I would break the ice. I figured I would break the ice a little bit.
Yeah, you have to break the ice because that is ice when you start throwing pork chops in there. All right.
By the way, I see Mr. McQueen quite a bit, and he eats sea bass every single night. There you go. He does not eat pork chops.
Look here. Well, thank you for telling all my business, Marvin. I will definitely. The next time we have to make a decision of bringing you on.
No. All the inquiring fans want to know. I saw him at Piggly Wiggly one time on the beach. He had on a coat and sunglasses, and I swear to God, he had a piece of pork chop in his hand. He put it down real quick when he saw me. He had on dark sunglasses and an overcoat, and it was July.
Look, it's so glad to start off on a happy note here tonight because you see, look at your comments there. You got from April, since she's crying all over herself.
April Garner, if you're listening, we just looking for any video evidence of Mr. McQueen eating any pork skin, any chickaroni, any of that. Anybody got that? Send it to me.
Look, I bet George George is probably laughing all over himself. I know he's looking at it. But anyway, look, Marvin. Again, it's great to have you on the show, and
good to be here.
We've got another guest coming on later on to talk about it's just all the promotions. The young man seems to be a very creative person. Going to be talking about some animation and creation of animations regarding Gullah Geechee. However, having you on our program, is a delight, and what's scheduled for the 100th anniversary this year is the 100th anniversary of the Latimer Funeral Home.
Yes, sir. We're gonna be doing. We're gonna be doing like a get together drop in. I think it's gonna be the first week of December. My brother's kind of in charge of that. I leave him in charge of stuff like that. So
yeah,
we're doing like some giveaways and stuff like that. It'll be nice. And I think you guys will give us a plaque, so it'll be nice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my understanding is that the Whittemore Race Path Historical Society,
Yeah.
they will be they will be given the awarding, not awarding, but placing a plaque. This is just to make sure that history is solidified in the Whittemore area, which is predominantly Conway, like Conway.
Okay? Yeah. So it'll be a nice.
Yeah, and 100 years is a milestone, man, for having a business in Conway. Okay,
yeah.
And I think the Whittemore Race Path Historical Society is doing I think that's really fantastic for what they're coming up doing that. And
I appreciate that too. Thank you for representing, because I've kind of asked the brain trust in Conway. I was like, hey, all these old, certain color people buildings have been here 50 years and they got all kind of plaques and all kind of stuff. I was like, look, we've been around here a whole century. Hook a brother up, give us something. But thank you for representing, bringing it home. Thank you, Mr. McQueen, keeping it in the hood and helping us out and doing something and representing. So my dad never was big on showing. My mom wasn't either. They were all really, really kind of behind the scenes type people and stuff. So I didn't want to bring too much, not too much fanfare about it and stuff. But it is a milestone, because I talk to people all the time and they're like, yeah, I've been in business since '88. I'm like, 88, really? I got underwear. I got underwear from '88. That ain't no big deal.
Yeah. So look, Marvin. Just want to make a correction before we move any further. I'm going to ask you about some history of the funeral home. But what you just said about like I was just like an intercessor. I was like the messenger, to help move things on. But I'm not the primary person. I think you have Cheryl Adams, since she's the president, and of course you have my wife Joella. She's on the committee there, and she's been very, very, very and Miss Priscilla Fuller, as you probably met her. Yeah, they all have been very, very aggressive in trying to make sure that the legacy is solidified, and for them to point out and that that Latimer Funeral Home is one. Definitely, you don't want to leave that out. I mean, it's probably the oldest one. Okay, on this business, oldest business around. They're 100 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So having said that, could enlighten our audience as to why we are looking at that as with a lot of history? Could you just can you give us a little from a historical perspective, some things that you think the public should know, starting not with your dad's graduating from Whittemore High School, but back in the day when it began.
Yeah, well, my dad, he used to work for Goldfinch Funeral Home back in the in the teens, and back then Goldfinch was responsible for burying all the blacks back then. So he ended up going to embalming school in Gumpman Jones out in Atlanta. After he graduated, he wanted to start his own business. And then he did an apprenticeship under Haywood Goldfinch back then. And then he opened up his own funeral home back in 1924, which is amazing, because to see the excuses that people come up for not starting their own business and being entrepreneurs. And I was like, you know what? This dude did something when they were hanging brothers from trees back in the 20s and kept it real and started his own business. And it should be a testament, and you need to do a story on this. Back in the day, Black people had to be entrepreneurs because nobody wouldn't hire them. And back then, right there on the hill where I grew up, 1712 Race Path, you had a laundromat, you had a barber shop, you had Cozy Corner, you had, you name it. All these Black businesses and stuff, they prospered back then, and they were able to survive, and it's just amazing that most small businesses fail within 2 years now. So they were doing something right, but they couldn't have done it without people supporting the business, and that's kind of what it's all about. But you treat people right, people will support you. So he started it back in the 20s, and then he had a partner back then, Mr. Henry Robinson, better known as Bully Ape, and then he had other people come along to work with him. Everybody remember Mr. Reverend Stackhouse, and that was one of the most famous, burials we ever had because he was buried sitting up. I think I sent you a picture of that earlier today.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
after,
You did
then
send
he
us a
met my
picture. Okay.
mom. I think he met my mom in '58, if I remember correctly, and they courted for a long time. And then after they got married, she finally moved here to Conway and started and kept the business going. And luckily, my age is classified, but later on she dropped the seed, aka Marvin Latimer and George Latimer, and then we kind of took the business on after my dad died, and then now we've been running it ever since my mom died a couple of years ago.
Wow. So Marvin, give us a little bit about your not your qualifications as a film director, but are you an embalmer? Or?
No, I'm not an embalmer. I'm just a licensed funeral director in the state of South Carolina, license number 2089. So I graduated from Conway High School, and then after I left Conway High School, matriculated to Clemson University, Bachelor of Science in Management and Finance, with a minor in real estate. And then after that, I came on to run the business. And kind of my dream back then was just to kind of bring the business up to 21st century, make it a little bit more technically savvy. Back then, and my mom she put the old school in old school. I remember, I never forget arguing with her trying to get a fax machine. We don't need no fax machine. Mom, this is the way of the future. We do need a fax machine. We don't need no fax machine. That's $187 for my mom was tight with purse strings. You know what I'm saying? You could not
Yeah.
get you weren't coming up off no cash. It's funny how she was so tight with the purse strings and stuff. Me and my brother be just spending money on stuff like water. Think about it. I was like, boy, mama turn it over in the grave now. Yo, we don't need no new computer. You just bought a computer 10 years ago.
10. Most computer turnovers are 5 years now. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's obsolete in 2 years. So,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of how it was. But I appreciate, she came up in my mom was born in 1927. So she came up in the 30s and 40s. So,
Right.
back then you kind of had to buy a whole. So I understand that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was kind of raised by old people, and I learned a lot of those tenets. That they, I heard all the old sayings and all that kind of stuff. So when I was raised up, I was just raised by old people, and I appreciate it too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And of course, your brother George, he's running the funeral home with you,
Oh
with you
yeah,
all.
it's me and
Yeah.
me and him. Couldn't do it without him. He didn't want to come on camera, so he tasked that with me. He know how pretty I look. Get my good side in it. You know what I'm saying? Float like a butterfly, sting like. No, I'm sorry, that's that side there.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Most
I
people have
got
heard
two
that.
good
But look at
sides.
that.
Thank you,
I think that's
Jesus.
gotten a little old. But anyway. Uh,
Thank you, Jesus, for two good sides. I should appreciate my two good sides, Jesus.
yeah, okay. So what is scheduled or what is planned is again I may reiterate this, and that is to commemorate the
Yep.
100th anniversary of the funeral home, and um, as a plaque that that they want to put on the door. And the ceremony, the date is to be determined, okay? But we're looking at
Yeah,
the
we're
beginning
looking at
of
the
December.
first week of December, I
Yeah,
think. And my
first week of
brother's
December.
yeah, he's working on getting some gift bags for people and that type of thing. So if you drop
Yeah,
by, we'll promote it a little bit closer to the date, but it's looking like the first week of December. We're
yeah,
trying to do it this week. A lot of stuff came up, and my schedule wouldn't allow, and his wouldn't allow. So that's why we had to move.
yeah,
But
absolutely,
we'll
yeah,
make it work first week of December.
yeah. That's the funeral business is unpredictable business of try to arrange a date.
You can't.
you know.
Death don't take no holiday,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
no, it's kind of
That's kind of
unpredictable
how that
business.
is.
Yeah.
God laughs at our plans.
That's right. Um, I'm not sure if we have any photos for which to display of some historical photos anyway.
Yeah, I sent
About
you
the
a
business,
couple.
but
You might have one of the old picture of the old edifice from back in the day. I think that's the one. Yeah, that should be the original one. It's the
yes,
picture I
yeah,
can
we
see.
should get it up in a few seconds.
Yeah. Hmm.
And we'll let the people know what it
Yep.
looked like, and the of course the location hasn't changed. Okay.
It just moved about 30 or 40 yards basically east. That's about it. Same lot, but it's been this whole been here 100 years.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like I've
Yeah.
been here 100 years too, Mr. McQueen, believe it or not.
I like you look.
Well, my dad started me going on funerals when I was like 8 years old, you know.
All right.
So I didn't have any say in that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Yeah. Well,
And that was back before cell phones and tablets. So I don't know what I played with back then. And I never see a kid in church under 8 without a tablet now, which is amazing.
without a tablet.
Yeah, they got it. Yeah, think about it now. If you go to church, you see a little kid under 8 years old. He got a tablet, loud too, loud.
Let's see. That's right, because you all attend a lot of funerals. Yeah.
Yeah,
I certainly understand that.
yeah,
Um, but anyway, look, you were detailing a bit about your history of the place. Does
yeah,
that connect? Does that have you? There was one photo. And I just want to talk about it, but whether we have it or
yeah,
not really doesn't matter. There was one famous photo, and that was in Jet magazine, as I recall,
yeah.
about
Mhm.
about the embalmer you had there, or the funeral home assistant person was Mr. Stackhouse.
Right.
Yeah, he elected uh, um, to not have a normal casket, but one sitting up, sitting in the casket, and I guess that must have been a phenomenon during that time.
Yeah, there was rumored. I think my mom said between 4 and 5,000 people. See, back in the day, if the funeral was Friday, the body might be out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They just started having 1 day viewings. I mean, really not too long ago. But back then, the body would be out all week, and people would be lined up around the corner. Because I have so many the pictures is on the wall as soon as you walk in here, and a lot of people
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I remember that. I stayed in line for an hour just to see Reverend Stackhouse." So it is it's pretty phenomenal that kind of stood the test of time. But the guy he was kind of way ahead of his time. He didn't want to be buried laying down. He wanted to be buried sitting up. So if you look at the design of the casket, it's shaped like an old school piccolo, a jukebox,
Right. Right.
and that's what the casket company. He told the casket company that's the kind of casket he wanted. And back in the day, there was this room. Everybody told me they said if you put a quarter in there, he would read the Bible. So that's what I heard anyway. That was a rumor. So there you go. But that's pretty amazing, and that kind of attracted the interest of Jet magazine. So that was in there circa 1963, 64, I think.
I'm getting some response from my computer here asking me to either close it or wait for the program to respond, and
All right.
I can't switch.
Yeah, but side note to that, Reverend Stackhouse and my dad were going to pick up a body in Peak, and Reverend Stackhouse died and fell on my dad while they were driving back, going to pick a body up. So that was kind of ironic.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You
Look,
back?
I'm going to
You
ask the
good?
audience to bear with me a second here. We got some comments in which I cannot read. I get, yeah, um, can't get to from my computer, but April is working from behind the scenes excellently, by the way, and she is doing that. So I'm just going
Thank
to.
you, April. We appreciate you.
Yeah, I've been saying thank you for a long time, a lot of times. Yeah. So I'm just going to bow out just for a second or two so I can get this kind of
Yeah,
regroup,
man.
okay? So
Whatever you
ask
need
the
to do.
audience to kind of like bear with me.
Sure.
Yeah, let me see. Good. Great, great, great. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. You good?
Oh, okay, okay. We're good. We're good to go. Thank you very much,
All right.
April.
All right.
Yeah, so there
Yeah,
you have
somebody, I
it.
think somebody was asking me how it was placed in the ground. It wasn't in a vault back then. They used, I had some photos of that, some other photos. They used straps to lower it down in the ground. What was his name? Ulysses Weaver. He was our grave digger back then. And I had some, whoever has those pictures, I would love to have them back. We let this lady borrow them to do a magazine spread, and we never got them back. That was back before folklore. Yeah, that was back in the day. We never got them back. So we only had a
Wow,
few of those
wow,
left.
man, that's
It's all good.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure if you look closely, somebody has archived something like that, maybe downtown.
Yeah, yeah, that would be nice. But they just had some photographs of the actual lowering in the ground process, which is pretty amazing because we've come a long way since then. We got lowering devices now, so it's quite interesting. It's just amazing to see the just the arc that burial has kind of taken on over the years from the
Yeah,
20s all the way, over a century, and for the most part, black people still do the same things. They still have sitting ups because back in the day, um, the body would go to the house
right.
and people would stay there at the house and sit up with you, and that's kind of what they did. And they bring food and that type of thing. Sitting up's kind of changed now. Now people come to your house looking for something to eat, which is a little unusual. But people out there who watching, they know what I'm talking about.
See what you talking about.
Yeah, they're looking
To our
for a
audience,
food box.
one thing about Mr. Marvin Latimer, he will get to the point. I mean, he holds back on nothing.
Y'all got some aluminum foil. Let me take this piece of pound cake with me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. There's another photo of.
There it is. Yeah, that's the edifice from back in the day. That's back in the 20s and stuff. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
That's the original structure.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yep. That's original edifice and stuff.
Yeah.
Now
And there's
the amazing thing about that, going, if a bit of history back in the 50s, my mother actually, she ran a convenience store, a gas station. That's how she met my dad. My dad was going fishing with his buddies, Mr. Willie Canny, and they were going up to Southport to go fishing. And back in the day, you got to remember, this was back in the 50s, there were only so many businesses that black people could stop to and get gas. So they didn't know for sure if they could get gas there or not, but they found out they could. My mom was real, real light, by the way. Thought she's a white woman. So they stopped there and they got gas. And then my dad was kind of smitten with her. So on the way back, they stopped again and got something to eat and got some gas. Back then, this place was called a Green Swamp. Trust me, I heard the story a million times, so that's why I know it. So then, now this is the cool part, Mr. McQueen. So he comes back. Now, instead of him, this is back before cell phones, he had his boy drive up to see her to get permission to holler at her. He sent his homie to get permission to holler. So she said, "Yeah, I'm available, and he can court me." So then he had to get permission from from her. So he would drive up there every weekend and drive back to meet her. So I I talk to people all the time. I talk to this guy, and he goes to St. Paul Church up in Little River. He said, "Man," he said, um, "on Sundays we used to stand out on 17 waiting for your daddy to go by because that's the only time you see a black man in a Cadillac, and we just couldn't wait. He come by at the same time every Sunday and stuff." So just a little interesting little side note there. So that ended up working out. She came back and she said the paperwork was just kind of in complete disarray. My dad, he loved to play checkers more more than he loved the business, I think. So she kind of redid, and she was my mom is I can it's just funny because I can look at the paperwork my mom did 10 years ago versus how my brother does it, and I'm like, okay, you need to you need to be like your mama, son. She was super anal when it came to paperwork and stuff. So she read all the paperwork, organized everything for him, and just kind of changed the business. She kind of took it to the new levels. My dad, had the gift of gab, and he could talk, and he had the social end of the game, but the business end of the game, he was giving away the store, as they say, you know. But it's just kind of amazing because I would hear stories from my mom and him that back then, you got to remember, back in the days in the 20s and 30s, there was a barter system where he wouldn't get paid for the funeral until people killed hogs in the wintertime where they could go to slaughter and get money to pay. So he would just kind of front them until then. And then, people pay in like livestock and collards and stuff like that. So that's why, you think about it in the 20s, that's kind of how things work. That was before MasterCard and Visa.
Before what?
MasterCard and Visa. Wasn't no credit cards
Yeah,
back then.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think, man, with the history that just spit. Wait, April, if you can go back to this photo again, where not the yeah, right there. The photo up in the top left is Mr. Henry Robinson, and he is the father of
Jim.
Mary Owens, Mary
Yeah.
Robinson Owens, Jen
Yeah.
Owens, and the late Buddy Robinson himself, and
Yeah.
okay,
Hmm.
and Diane. Yeah, just wanted
Yep.
to. Yeah, all that's history, man. So
Oh yeah, most definitely.
yeah, all that's history.
Yeah.
Okay. So, look to our audience, and look, man, it's great having you here this evening to.
Well, thank you for finally inviting me on. And I get to see you quite a bit, and you've never invited me on your show. By the way, I have a television show Saturday nights, 12 o'clock on the CW. But shameless promotion. But there you go. Just thought I'd throw that plug in there. But yeah, never been invited on your show. Thank you so much. Better late than never. Never late is better, as Drake said. There you
Uh,
go.
can you address that question that's at the bottom of your screen there?
Uh-oh.
What is the legacy that you want people to remember about your father and the business?
Legacy I want people to remember about my father was he really was about giving back, and he was about helping people because you can do a lot of stuff in the world, but people will only remember how you feel and what you did for them. He did a lot for people, and he made them feel good, and he tried to help them. I talked to one gentleman. This is that I just remember, and he said, I swear that this was about a month ago. He said, "Man, your daddy kept me from going to jail." I said, "Well, why happened?" He said, "I just had a 1968 Pontiac, whatever it was." He said it was a gas station right up here on the street, right on 378. And he peeled out and he cut a donut and took off. And he said a cop came right behind him, and he told him, he said, "If you ain't got $10, you go into jail." And he said, "All I had was $4." And he said, "Your daddy peeled off for $10 and kept me from going to jail." And I like, wow, he just like black man, back man, he just came out of he just disappeared out of nowhere. He said, no, he was just coming down the street and he saw the light and he thought he stopped the black dude and he was just trying to help him out. He just peeled off the money. So if you'll do the present value of $10 back in 1962, it was basically like giving somebody $100. And I was like, that's a lot of money. When the
Yeah,
last
yeah,
time
it
you give
was.
somebody $100 so they wouldn't go to jail? So I
Yeah,
thought about the stuff like that he did, and then he did another thing he did. Mr. Farewell told me he drove him all the way to Charleston to have surgery on his arm and didn't charge him a dime for it. You know, so he did a lot of stuff where he gave back, and that's why people remember 50, 60, 70 years later. So it's this kind of a testament to it's really about how can you help somebody. I know you have to make a profit. You are in business, but
right.
first and foremost, you try to help people in a time of need, and that's what I kind of try to do. Also, I try to kind of follow the testaments and tenets that my parents have kind of set forth to try to help people. Because you're in a somebody just lost a loved one, so you
Yeah,
want to help them.
absolutely.
That's what you want to do because people will remember, good or bad, they
Right.
will remember. So you just will try to make things easy as possible for them, and that's what me and my brother try to do, and that's what his legacy I think would be. And he never really kind of drew attention to himself. He really was just that gregarious, trying to help people and give back. So that's the main legacy I would say.
The you notice at the bottom of your screen that Miss Fuller, Miss Priscilla Fuller, who you met a number of times regarding
Yeah.
in moving forth with the plaque. She asked, how has the business changed from the time that your mom operated
Oh
the
wow.
businesses and the way you carry out the business since COVID?
Wow, that's huge, huge difference now. Because now, back in the day, back when my mom was operating things and my dad was operating things, you wouldn't think twice. As soon as you pick a body up, you just embalm it, and that's it. Now you have to get verbal permission to embalm, and you got to ask, are you cremating? Are you burying? This just came took off like wildfire a few years ago as far as cremation in the black community. That was kind of unheard of back in the day. So many black people would say, I ain't gonna burn twice. I ain't gonna take no chances. That
They
type thing.
said burning twice.
Now, yeah, now I think March this last year was the first month we had more cremations than burial. It was just crazy, crazy unusual. I never seen anything like it. So that's kind of how the business, especially African American black communities, change from when my mom and dad were in business to me and my brother kind of conducting the business now. It's cremation is you never know, and you never know. It's not even my age thing. We've cremated 101-year-old black ladies before. Something I didn't think would ever happen, but it does happen. And to each his own. But if you hear I got cremated, y'all call the police because Marvin Latimer did not authorize that. Put me in a hole, in a vault, and no viewing, please.
And they said, yeah, they put you in a hole. Okay. Uh, Look, man, you know something, with the history that you're spitting out there, with and for people who, especially people who live in Conway and those who were abroad, because a lot of people left Conway, and the people who left Conway, really the ones that know more so
Yep.
about a little bit about the history than the people who
Yeah.
currently live here, I believe.
Yes.
Uh, so, there's another question at the bottom of there. It says from Miss Vandross Brown. She asked, Marvin, do you have any plans to build another funeral home?
No, I do not. The reason for that is I'm super, super hands on, and my brother's super, super hands on. We're a boutique business, and when we service you, you're queen for a day. And I want to roll out the red carpet. I want you to feel like you're our only customer. And I can't have that if I have multiple businesses. I'm I'm a task person, and I just want to make sure everything is run to my specifications. I'm a control freak, and you have to be in this business. And I want to have my hands on every aspect of business, and I can't do that in multiple businesses. And to be honest with you, take all I have now. I work 60, 70 hours a week just at one funeral home. I couldn't imagine being as high maintenance as we are doing multiple places. I don't have any dreams for that, but just because I want to oversee every aspect of it. I want to know. the families. I don't want somebody to come in and say, "Hey, who are you? Y'all funeral home buried my grandmama." I want to know who you are, because this business is about relationships. This is
Yeah.
about. I've seen, my mom was friends with this lady named Miss Pluma Ford back in the day. I remember all her children. I remember her children's children. I remember the grandchildren. So I want to have a connection with every client family that we have, and I can't do that when I have multiple business. That's just me. That's kind of my take on that. Just because I'm already, like I told you, I work 60, 70 hours a week. One January, no, this past July, I had one day off. It wasn't July the 4th. I worked 30 days in July. So it's just, and that's just having one business. So no. Unfortunately, with all the irons I have in the fire, I have a TV show that takes a lot of bit of time, and then I have a real estate investment, and that takes a lot of time. So I just don't
Well,
have the time to do it.
yeah, we'll give you a few 8 seconds to promote your TV show.
Only 8 seconds. You just cannot encapsulate the Marvin Show into 8 seconds. It's too big. It's too hot for TV.
2 hours
There you
of
go.
TV.
But
All
Saturday
right.
night's 12 o'clock. Some nice ethnic humor that we put out there, and this week is fried chicken wings. By the way, you do eat chicken wings, don't you, Mr. McQueen? Just to make sure it ain't hog.
Sorry.
Just
Sorry.
no
No.
chicken. Good as the bird been to you, good as that yard bird. Now you know you was raised up on yard bird.
That's why I don't eat it
You
now.
couldn't afford no black bass back then when you was coming up there on John Street.
That's correct. That's correct. So, look, speaking of keeping up with change, but that's a good sign for you.
But yeah, Saturday
In
night,
the
12
photo,
o'clock.
the current
Saturday
photo
night, 12
that
o'clock
the
on the
audience is
CW, by the way.
seeing, who's that guy on the right on the other side of your mom in the current photo here?
Yes, that's my brother. I couldn't do it without him.
Oh, jeez.
Mr. George Latimer Jr. couldn't do it without him. My brother, he does all the stuff that I don't do. I call it stage craftery. He can, he sets all the funerals up and does all that. I'm kind of more of the business guy making the wheel go around, but he's kind of the face of the business, to be honest with you. And he's the social guy. He loves to
Yeah,
talk, and he's got the
he's a
gift
great
of
singer
gab.
too, Marvin. He's a great singer.
Oh
Great
yeah, he's a
musician.
great singer too.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go. Yeah,
Fantastic.
he's awesome when it comes to that. If you can get him to sing, you did something because he don't like to sing.
Oh, he doesn't like it, but he's good at it.
He's that's very unusual for somebody to be an expert singer but don't like to
And don't
sing.
like it.
No, that don't make much sense. That's like saying LeBron James don't like playing basketball.
Yeah, that's right. And he's good at it.
Yeah.
Well, hey.
But a shout out to you, man, because you do a lot. And by the way, people they purport to be Christians, but they come in my funeral home and they will steal Whittemore Alumni magazine.
No. Let me back that up. It's not Whittemore Alumni. It's the World Community Magazine. It used to be the
It's
Whittemore
always
Magazine.
Whittemore Alumni. Stop changing the name of it. I'm gonna still call Twitter Twitter. It ain't X. Whittemore Alumni.
What? I mean, I love the Alumni Association. Don't get me wrong. I really do. But just like you just pinpointed your promotion, we got a street pinpoint ours, okay, which is the World Community Magazine.
World Community Magazine. You ain't got Whittemore nowhere in the title.
Oh, it's in there. It's somewhere in there. It says the part that for subscribing. It says that you got to subscribe to the Whittemore. Whittemore.
Okay. Well, people love your magazine. That's the new Jet magazine, by the way. Now, by the way, a lot of people are asking to do it like Jet. You got to have the centerfold in there, Mr. McQueen. Go on now.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Stepping on up. No, I'm talking about the bikini centerfold like Jet.
Oh, no.
You ain't gonna do that.
You don't want. You don't want to do that.
You're not gonna do that.
And I thought you knew business.
I thought your subscription was quadruple.
Yeah, that's right. At a cost, yeah. At a cost.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes,
anyway,
sir.
look, man, it's been a gas here to have you on the program this evening, and we'll have you back again. Okay, don't worry.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for what you do. You do a lot in the community, and you help promote a lot of black businesses. You give back quite a bit, and that's what life is all about, man. And I really appreciate it, and I consider you consummate businessman. And my shouts out to you and Miss April Garner. Thank y'all for having me on. I appreciate it.
We got a couple of questions left.
All right.
I think April's gonna put them up. Yeah.
Sure.
How did your father get the name Grown Man?
Grown man. When he was little, his mama said he act like old grown man. And it kind of stuck. He always act kind of like a grown, grown. And they stopped calling him grown. Everybody call him grown. Grown man. Yeah, that's kind of unusual. I'm glad they didn't stick one on like that on me. It's just funny because black people are known for nicknames. The mama spend forever months coming up with a good baby name, Shakika or Shante. But then if somebody put a nickname on her, they'll be that for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Ain't that something?
Right.
But that's a nickname that lasted years and years and years.
And they'll never know their real name.
Never know it.
Never
what was a grown man name? Yeah, they always say I look like my daddy. I thought I looked like the Iceman. A little joke now.
Everybody that.
I tell my mama that. You stop that, boy.
Yeah, she was a sweet lady, man.
She was sweet. She'd be proud of me. I finally made the big time, mama. We're not talking about CBS Big Brother or Young and Restless, but World Community Magazine live on a Tuesday night.
Right. 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Don't forget it. Do not forget that. Mr. Evan McQueen is doing big things with April Garner back there behind the scenes.
Yeah, don't forget April. She's behind
there
the scenes.
There you
go. I don't know why she picked tonight to be behind the scenes. Well, there's always a reason, but well,
thank you again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, and we'll be talking again. Okay.
All right. Thank you in April.
Godspeed.
Godspeed. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Bye-bye.
So, there you have it, Brother Marvin Latimer, who gave us a good insight on something, a lot of questions that people have been asking, a long time ago before they stopped popping up on the screen today, and about the funeral home. After they heard that it was 100 years old, people want to know, what 100 years old? That, never heard that they were around that long, stuff like that, of course. But anyway, so we have, thank you, Ms. Van Dross, who commented that we had awesome guests. Great. So coming up, we have a young man who we thought was well deserving to have his type of creation propagated, so to speak, like a better word, propagated to the rest of Horry County, especially, and then afterwards, on a quick pace, hopefully, that it can be expanded throughout the world. And that is, we have Mr. Joshua Mishoe, and Joshua has, he's the CEO of the Camp Geechee, which emanates from Gullah Geechee, but for different purposes, it sets Camp Geechee. And Joshua, we're impressed. I'm impressed anyway with the developments that he has come up with. And without any further ado, let's see what Joshua has for us.
Awesome. How's it going? Oh wait, hold up. Salam alaikum. I feel like I should say it too.
Thanks, like salam.
Yeah, I actually am. So I mean.
Oh, whoa, okay. Oh well, yeah. Everybody can follow Marvin, So Joshua, good evening to you. How you doing?
I'm blessed. I woke up another day. I can't complain, and with just waking up another day, that's a blessing in itself.
Good, and fantastic. And you know who you look like. You looks like him.
I get it all the time.
I
all the
get it all the
time.
time.
Can't go nowhere. People follow me around though, squint their eyes, look at me. They're like, "Who your daddy?" Kevin Mitchell.
You know.
Yes.
And for everybody, everyone who doesn't know, this Joshua is the son of Mr. Kevin Mishoe from Bucksport, and Kevin has really been an integral part of the community over there, part of the better Bucksport community and all that good stuff. And Kevin has had a lot of wonderful things, and his late wife, who we adored. Very much, and but sorry for that loss. Miss her very much, by the way. So Joshua, tell us a little bit about the Camp Geechee. I see the word Geechee, and that also caught my attention because you've heard of Gullah Geechee, and I'm sure that must be an integral part of how you came up with Camp Geechee. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And beforehand, we've told the people that you were the creator of some graphics and animations that depict Geechee in a different way, a Gullah in a different way. So tell us a little bit about that. First, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself.
My name is Joshua Mishoe. I am a Bucksport native. I got my degree in sport and exercise science, where I graduated from Coastal Carolina University. I also have my own fitness business, where I do fitness classes in the local community of Bucksport. I also work at the local Bucksport Community Center, where mainly my role has been over summer camp and after school. So I work with children. I'm very hands-on with children. And other than that, I do powerlifting. I'm close to going pro in that. And let's see, is there anything else? Yeah, that's those are the main things.
Those are the main
But to
things.
dive into, what Camp Geechee is I'll start from the beginning where working with kids. First off, I already have I wrote another like graphic novel. More particularly, the style that I am inspired by is manga. Manga is like Japanese style manga. I mean Japanese style comic books.
Okay.
So a lot of people may not know, but if you are familiar, you may have heard your children or grandchildren talk about something called like Dragon Ball Z or
Uh huh.
Naruto or
Right.
something of the sort. That is in the same realm. That is manga, which is the written version, and then anime is the animated version. So ours would be close to like how we have Western comic books and like the cartoons that would follow, like of Batman or Superman or something.
Right.
Um, but mine's I have a main project called No Retreat, No Surrender. That was what allowed me to start getting these spaces. I was going to conventions, and I'm doing so good at it that I went to two bigger comic conventions. I went to LA Comic Con and I went to DreamCon, which are very big conventions, and I sold out day two. So that is a huge blessing that already showed me what my potential was or what my purpose is within this.
Right.
After high school, I started to really learn more about African American history, something that we're not taught. And then from there, like I said, created this story. What really kind of sparked me into doing it is I my father, my mother passed away 2 weeks before I went to college, and then one of my older brothers. That's not one of my dad's children. It was one of my mom's children. He passed away 2 weeks later, going into college. I That was kind of the catalyst that led me into doing this because they were very heavy on, especially my mother. She was like, Josh, like you got you got talent. I've had imagination since I was young. I would always just want to create things. I would watch movies, TV shows, and I'm like, I can make that better. And I would just sit in class and other situations and make movies in my head. Um, how I got to Camp Geechee was I remember having a dream. I didn't think much of it. It was very vivid, but I was working with kids in a camp, an outdoor camp atmosphere, and I had these supernatural powers and abilities. And then I remember yet again it being very vivid, but I didn't think much of it. At the same time, I was taking a Gullah Geechee business course led by Miss Merlin Hemingway, and she asked me, she said, "Have you ever thought about writing a Gullah Geechee inspired story?" It started to click. I was like, I haven't. I then started to do more research and realized how I have a lot of Gullah Geechee lineage. More about the corridor, more about all these different things, the low country, how our people came from West Africa. And it really started to click once I was already surveying my demographic. I would go around to conventions and I would ask people that are writing, especially specifically African Americans, and I would ask people that are writing these African stories, do you know about Gullah Geechee? They're like, no. Or they would say that they knew very little. And what's
Right.
crazy about that is more than 80% of us here in America have Gullah Geechee culture lineage, and we don't know that. So Camp Geechee was born from the imagination of a lot of the stories that I've seen growing up, but also the need that I know from my generation and younger, they're not about to pick up a history book. That's just the reality of it. The first thing that they're not about to go and do is pick up a history book. But they pick up animes, cartoons, TV shows, movies, comic books. If you can
Right.
put it in the TikTok video, put it in the TikTok video. Guess what? They will look at it. So I'm making it digestible because right now we live in a time where our history is not being taught, overshadowed, pushed to the side, and made into something different.
Right.
It's important for us to preserve, and it's important that my generation, the generation following, how do we plan to preserve it and pass it down? So that's where Camp Geechee also what kind of led to it was we grow up knowing a lot of the things about how everything derived from Africa. So
Right.
I kind of got my wheels turning. I was like, what if the very things of like in fantasy, like fairies, orcs, dragons, all derived from Africa as well? And from there, I also, my inspiration for it was one of the goals that this story talks heavily on is the main cast in this story is Generation Z, and they're teaching the generation that's following, which is, I believe, don't I think they're called Generation Alpha, but the I feel like my generation, what this talks to is my generation is a very powerful generation, but I was taught on respecting my elders. I feel like in order for us to become even more powerful, we must first listen to our elders, internalize it, and pass it down. So in this story, it specifically talks to every generation, all of our generations, from Generation Z to millennials, Generation X, boomers, etc. So it talks about those generational gaps and barriers, and even that we know that are there um, with this story. So
Well,
that's. Feel free to ask any questions before I can go more into it
yeah,
if you would
yeah.
like for me to.
These are things that, yeah, these are
Yes,
some of the graphics that you deal with and that
yes,
you
yes.
develop, right?
So what I do is I am everything from the editor to the creator to I do the concepts of these, but it's not in this. I can draw really good, but it's not in the style that I'm looking for. So I pass it off to an artist that I work with in Brazil. Shout out to my artist Zeno. He's an amazing. He's yet again he's in Brazil, so he's
Right.
learning about this stuff as I'm like teaching him about African American history and Gullah Geechee because he's always lived in Brazil, so a lot of this stuff is new to him. So if I could ask you to go back to the previous slide real quick. Um, so essentially what these are is um, I will also throw out there that I've been going around showcasing my concept. So I'm raising funds for Volume Zero and Volume One. Recently, I did a Kickstarter. It failed, and I knew why. It was more rushed. But when I got my news interview on Channel 15 of How You Found Me, that's when it started to blow up. But Kickstarter is an all or nothing campaign. If you don't reach that amount, you don't get any of the amount, and they give it back to the backers. So we plan to do a Kickstarter here in the near future. But until then, I will talk about it towards the end. But there are still ways that people can donate, and I'm also selling posters. And I'm pretty sure my dad came on here and talked about the juice and stuff like that that he does. I've made that also a part of my story. So also I sell some of that as part of the story to help raise funds. But to get to these images in volume zero is essentially going over. I feel like in order to know where we are, we have to know where we've been, very similar to
Right.
history. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yes, sir. So, in how the story starts off is you want to meet a character named Gullah Jack, who is accurate to Gullah Geechee and African American culture and history. Uh, in this one where you see where there's someone that looks like a pirate. He's not a pirate. He's a British soldier, but people said he looks like a pirate. That is the main antagonist, Boo Daddy. Boo Daddy is the leader of the Buhad clan. So if you've been down south and you ever heard the saying that the hag is riding you, you ever heard that?
What is it?
The hag is riding you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
That's old,
that
man.
that's Gullah Geechee,
That's
and
Gullah
that
Geechee.
is in reference to Buhag. The Buhag, in this story, and also that is accurate to Gullah Geechee culture. They're drawn towards chaos. They're shapeshifters. Of course, they mostly attack you while you're asleep. In this story, they are drawn towards chaos and they feed off of the other clans. But at the time of you meeting them in chapter one, there's only five of them left because a lot of them died out because the clans weren't around, and that is because that's a whole different story. But to stay when where we are in volume zero, Gullah Jack he ended up awakening the clans again during slavery as a way to get his people out of the situation that they were in. Now, Blue Daddy, like I said, is drawn towards chaos. So around that time, we know that British soldiers, of course, being part of the slave trade, they were part of causing this chaos. And I'm talking about, yes, the carnage of going into West Africa, ripping us out of there, putting us on boats, and bringing us here, and all the carnage that ensued between then and that period of time. So this confrontation starts a war between Boo Daddy and the 10 clans because yet again Boo Daddy he feeds off and the Boo Hags of this clan they feed for in order for them to survive they feed off the other clans. The 10 clans are inspired by different elements that have expanded on in Gullah Geechee culture. For example, there's a basket weaver clan, and they are more so like if you look, there's a gentleman that has like these little bit of spiders hanging from his hat. That is someone of the boot of the basket weaver clan. Now I won't show all of them unless you guys want me to. But to show you, I have a whole booklet for my character designs, and here that is one of the character designs of the one of the characters from the Basket Weaver clan. Um, I will run through all the clans if you want me to, because also each clan has a clan symbol. I made these symbols by simply taking African symbols, and I found what was relatable. Oh yes, there we go, there we go. And actually, that's Gullah Jack right there. That's Gullah Jack's character design. So in volume zero, after you see what happens in chapter one, each of them are going to go through the main battles to kind of not only one thing that's important that I don't think we realize enough is Gullah Geechee kickstarted African American history. A lot of things that we use today, we don't realize that that is Gullah Geechee. And in the story, we also
Joshua,
yes,
Joshua,
sir.
let me interject right here. We
That's
got
fine.
some questions on the line that people are wanting to know about. So okay, one is from Miss Kelsley. Um, how do you plan on making the comics relate to the older generation?
Yes. So there's different elements. So I went around in the community and specifically also asked some people, elders in the Gullah Geechee community, young people in the Gullah Geechee community, how do they view one another? And I've used that as a way to help kind of inspire how the generations are used. I think one of the things that in the disconnect that I hear a lot of people within my generation and older generations is like, of course, we constantly go back and forth about how they don't understand or they're changing something or that's not accurate. And then also you're having these conversations as generations went on about breaking generational curses,
Right,
generational trauma.
right.
So the camp counselors are Generation Z. The kids that are coming in represent the generation that is currently growing up. As they come to Camp Geechee, if anybody out there is familiar with Harry Potter, at Hogwarts, you can't use your powers outside of attending Hogwarts, or your powers and abilities. But when you come to Hogwarts, you learn more about your powers and abilities and your heritage and the lore. Camp Geechee is very similar. So that's symbolic to how the younger generation coming up, they don't know much of anything. I know with me growing up, it taught Martin Luther King I have a dream speech, Malcolm X was a bad guy, and Rosa Parks sat on the bus. And that's it.
Well,
So
if it well, now you interjecting. You said younger people didn't do this, younger people do that. How old are you, by the way?
I'm 26. I fit into Generation Z. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. I want the audience to know that. I mean, like 26 is young.
Yeah. So, but what I'm also referring to is there's a younger. So now I think I
Right, right.
forgot what Generation Z stops at, but there's the generation after us. Like I said, I believe is Generation Alpha, and that represents the younger kids, young kids.
Right,
I
right, right.
think it's after like 2015 or something of the sort.
There,
Uh,
there's some more questions on the side over there about from Miss. How did you decide on the cover art?
So for the cover art, I took inspiration from some animes that I know. I grew up on anime and such. So each poster represents a different era that's going to happen in Volume Zero. So Volume Zero is going to first hit on the slavery era. Then it's going to go to the Harlem Renaissance, which is the poster that you see with the meaning the poster that's on the left.
Right.
And then no wait, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's the slavery era, the Reconstruction era. That's the poster on the right. The Harlem Renaissance, and then the Civil Rights era. I've tied in a lot of historical aspects into this fiction. Of
Right.
course, this is why it's a historical fiction. So even in the Reconstruction era, what you're seeing is you're going to be seeing the Confederate versus going against the Union. Throughout all these different eras, Boo Daddy is involved with causing senseless chaos. It's going to kind of mention slight things in history where it'll mention that he was a part of like the rise of the KKK, Tulsa, Wilmington, a lot of these massacres. Yet again, it doesn't harp on it too much because I'm leaving room for me to, whenever I want to expand on this, just how Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Star Trek, they tell you a piece of their story and it's able to be expanded on. So I'm able to do the same with how I'm planning on doing the story. But it goes throughout these different eras to tie in Gullah Geechee, but to also signify the resiliency throughout each era of our people as it just our resiliency just continued to grow and grow and grow. A lot of the characters I've created over 100 characters. So these characters that you see in these posters, each of them have their own backstory, their own power set that's unique to them. And essentially, what's going to also be important with each of these eras. Well, actually, to go back to Ashley's question, uh, in each cover art, it kind of also shows a power dynamic. When the first cover art, you see Boo Daddy over the 10 clans. In the second one, the one that's on the right, you see them now on an even playing field. In the third one, which is the Harlem Renaissance, you see on the left, that's the one that you see them bringing the battle to them. And if you go back one more slide, real quick, please, sir, you'll see that on the right here, that's the poster for the Civil Rights era. This exact fight actually takes place during Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. So,
I find it interesting. Man, is an echo?
yeah, it's a slight echo. Yeah.
Okay. All I was about to say was that I find it interesting that, and the reason why I asked your age, you had already told me your age. It was 26. Um, you were expounding on a lot of stuff that, unless I'm behind the times or whatever, I just didn't think the average 26-year-old had that was reading history to that length. Okay, especially Black history. Okay, they may have been exposed to it, but that the interest just wasn't there. Okay. But I find it interesting. But I'm so proud that you kept that history and you learned it well. The part about all of the different Black leaders and so forth. And you can see the comments on the side there. People, you're getting good comments. You know, like of course, as April, that's A.G. Davis is April, and she commented that you have a brilliant mind. And
Thank you.
And everybody says you sound like your father. So I mean.
I'm sorry about the echo, but I get that a lot.
Yeah. That's good.
If I may expand on that real quick about it took me. I know I'm not like the average 26-year-old. I want to be a leader for my generation. And I realized as I was observing that a lot of people did not know our own history. I think for me growing up on superheroes and anime and comic books and all these different things, we look for
Superman.
these superheroes. But these superheroes are already within our culture and lineage. Like the fact that they're able to do things at a time where they told that they weren't able to do it, they did it, and they still continue to prevail. That's what children need to know about. One thing I found very interesting is in the millennial and my generation, Generation Z, and the younger generations, they know a lot about Greek mythology. And why is that? That's because there's video games, there's TV shows, there's movies, a lot of them about Greek mythology. They're planting those seeds in order to get people to go ahead and do more research. That's what I'm trying to accomplish with this as well. I'm trying to champion our culture and history at a time where we can look at Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Star Trek, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson. The list goes on and on. All these things are white centered. I'm not saying that they can't have those spaces, but we need to create spaces for ourselves. We saw what happened with Black Panther. We saw the turnout.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
so that is the same thing that we need, but we need something a little bit more. I feel like everything that we've done is often related to Africa, which of course is important for us to know. But let's make the connection. That's why the story talks about it starts off in West Africa and talks about our journey over into America and what the customs and things like were for our people. Because one of the other clans I could expand on is there's a Forest Guardian clan. The Forest Guardian clan, their inspiration came from the agriculture aspect of Gullah Geechee and African American culture. So all of the recognized members within that clan, they have a connection towards a certain cash crop, whether if whenever they eat it, come in contact with it, or something of the sort, it gives them additional powers and abilities. So yeah,
Wow.
that's
Yeah, man. Look, we got to get you on the show again. I'm sure you haven't finished yet. Okay. No, yeah, I mean, you come up with some stuff, man. That just to me is quite impressive, and the comments are continuously coming in, man. You know, on Saturday you had Miss Mary Skinner Jones said it's just awesome. Okay, just awesome
I
young
appreciate
man,
that.
and you should be
Thank
proud
you,
of all
thank
these
you.
comments that are coming in. You know, wow, I certainly am. But you know, unfortunate thing about tonight is that I was sure it was really scheduled for like an hour, and we can go over sometime, but it's almost 8:30, so we technical issues will demand
Yes,
that we
yes.
close out. So, but man, hey man, I'm so glad to have met you. I haven't met you in person, but I saw you on channel. I think it was channel 4. When I say channel 4, I mean it was on the NBC.
I was on channel. Oh
It was
yeah.
It was NBC, WMBF, I believe, and they were impressed enough that they wanted to do an interview with you, in which they did. That was a good interview, by the way.
I appreciate that. Was actually that was my third interview.
Right.
I had 3 since February. I was on channel 13. I was on WMBF, and then channel 15 was this one that they did more of this expansive interview, which it was all a blessing. Everything I'm doing is a testament of my faith. Like, so all of it's a blessing.
Oh, that's great, man. So great. So look, man, again. We're don't worry. We're gonna get you again. We're gonna
I would love to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not gonna wait a whole year. Okay, it's just we'll have you on again. So,
We're done.
in regard, you got
Thank you, man.
credit to your dad for really communicating that, because it was kind of difficult getting to you, communicating with you. And had to
I
go through him.
apologize.
That's okay.
I'm just like
It's
him.
okay.
I'm always
Yeah.
on the go.
Yeah, and we've got look, this lady, see how they're coming in. The comments are coming in. Miss Jimietta
I appreciate
King, a great job. Miss Shirley
Thank you,
Wiggins.
everybody.
I guess what year ago again? I guess, and Carolyn Hickman Williams, very knowledgeable young man. All the things that I'm saying.
everybody.
I mean, so keep up the good work, and
I ain't got no quit in me.
don't quit in you. Okay. Are you a resident? Are you a resident of Bucksport or Myrtle Beach?
Bucksport, yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
If you mind,
Did you go to Conway High? You finished at Conway High?
no, sir. I graduated from Myrtle Beach High School.
Oh, Myrtle Beach. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
If you
So,
do you mind if I plug my social media in?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, everyone, if you want to find me on Facebook, it's Joshua Mishoe. On Facebook, it's also Camp Geechee. Joshua Mishoe also on Instagram. And like I said, if anyone wants to donate towards the project right now, I'm still accepting funds towards the project because one of the things that we're trying to do with Volume 0 and Volume 1 is going to get the production going. So if anyone wants to donate, which means a lot, all the proceeds go to get the project actually made. Just individually message me, and I'll of course direct you where to go from there. To give you the Venmo or PayPal information for that. But yeah, those are the main platforms that you can find me on. If you want me on anything else or anybody out there, my email is mishuejoshua@gmail.com.
Well, one person that you on the side that you probably need to stay in contact with is Ms. Marjorie McIver.
Okay.
And she says that there's a need to expose you to her literacy programs. She comes under the Gullah Geechee umbrella also with different entities. I'm sure you must have heard of her before.
I have.
Okay. All right. And yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh man, this has been something else, man. Okay. So yeah. So look, we're going to we're going to have you back again. Make no mistake about that. God willing.
I would love to.
Okay.
God willing.
Okay. So look, thank you so much for coming on, and Godspeed,
Thank you.
and good luck with that. And look, if we can do anything, to help in any kind of informative way to make sure that you need the resources for whatever, because I know you just mentioned something like was that a GoFund?
A Kickstarter. It's like a GoFundMe, but
yeah.
they have a tier system that when people
Yeah, right.
give a certain amount, they can get something.
Yeah. So we'll let the people know that Kickstarter is the name of that website, right?
Well, right now we don't have one running. We'll be having one in the near future. The one I sent you was the one that failed, but we'll be doing another one in the near future. But in the meantime, like I said, if somebody wants to donate to and everything goes directly towards the project, just direct message me on one of those social media platforms. And yet again, it will mean a lot because we're trying to go and get the production going of getting Volume 0 and Volume 1 on the way.
Right. Oh man, this broadcast has been a whammy. So look, again, Godspeed and keep going with good work, man. Keep up.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. All right. So.
Have a great night.
Yes, sir. So there you have it. There's too much more I can say about the two guests that we had. They're just pouring out a lot of information, and that's what this broadcast is about. And we're certainly glad that the community is responding to most of in fact, all of our broadcasts. And I just say, we'll see you next week, God willing, with some more guests on other topics. At least a guest on a topic. And until then, I have to say good night to you all and Godspeed. And thank you, April, for staying over a half hour. From 8 o'clock to 8:30. And thank you for working behind the scenes. Really appreciate that. And that's April up in the top right up there and on your screen. Yeah. So, okay. So thank you all. Good night. And Godspeed.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook.